Most rock bands, they're lucky if they last 4 years. But today, we're talking about a band that built an empire that's lasted 40 years. So this is the Bon Jovi blueprint, how a bunch of guys from Jersey became this global institution. Let's dive in.
Yeah, 40 years. Just let that number sink in for a second. I mean, the music industry is notorious, right? It just chews up artists and spits them out. But somehow, Bon Jovi navigated these huge, massive shifts in music, in technology, in culture itself. And you know what? They're still here.
Okay, if you really want to get a sense of just how big they were at their peak, look at this. 1.76 million. That's how many tickets they sold in 1 year, 1989, for the New Jersey Syndicate Tour. I mean, come on, that's not just a band, that's a full-blown global phenomenon operating at the absolute height of its power. So that's the big question, right? How on earth do you pull that off? Because it's not just about writing a few hit songs. No way. This is a story about incredible ambition, this almost ruthless ability to adapt, and some seriously smart business moves. So let's unpack exactly how they built this thing. And where does it all begin? Well, you guessed it, New Jersey. This is the origin story. It's where that classic, relentless work ethic slammed right into a once-in-a-generation kind of opportunity. You know, that drive? It was there from day one. I mean, Jon started his first band when he was just 13. Later, he's working as a janitor at the legendary Power Station Studios, his cousin's place, just so he could be around the music. And talk about hustle. When he recorded that demo for Runaway back in '82 and no record label would touch it, he just walked it into a local radio station himself. And that single move, that's what lit the fuse. And this wasn't some band manufactured in a boardroom, These guys were all veterans of that same gritty Jersey club scene. David Bryan and Jon, they'd already been in bands together. Tico Torres and Alec John Such, they were all running in the same circles. And then, when they found this guitar genius to Richie Sambora, boom, the classic lineup was set. Okay, so here's the absolute game changer, the thing that made them explode. It's the story of Tommy and Gina in Livin' on a Prayer. See, this was so much more than just a catchy hook. It was a story, a blue-collar fable. And it gave the band this incredible identity that just connected with millions of working-class fans. Suddenly, they weren't just another rock band. They were relatable. They were champions for the everyday person. But then, just as they hit the absolute peak, the entire music world flipped upside down. The early 90s hit, and bam, glam metal was over. Grunge coming out of Seattle took over everything. And for most bands in their position, that was it. Career over. A total apocalypse. So what did Bon Jovi do? Did they fight it? Nope. They pivoted hard. They didn't just tweak things, they did a complete reinvention. And the change is just stark. You go from the big hair and the stadium anthems of the 80s to this mature, rootsier rock sound, with actual social themes and a totally different look. Yeah, everyone remembers the haircut. It was the big symbol. But the real power move? Firing their legendary manager, Doc McGee, and starting their own management company. That was the moment. That's when Jon Bon Jovi stopped being just the frontman and became the CEO. He took complete control of the brand, of their destiny. And that move, that shift to thinking like a business first, that really defined the next 20 years for them. While the entire music industry was basically collapsing around them, Bon Jovi's didn't just hang on for dear life. They innovated. Want a perfect example of their strategy? Here it is. A rock band getting a #1 hit on the Billboard country charts. Think about that. Back in 2006, that was basically unheard of, but they did it. Their duet with Jennifer Nettles, Who Says You Can't Go Home, went straight to the top. It was a brilliant, calculated move that opened them up to this huge, super loyal new fan base, right when the rock world was splintering into a million pieces. They were also pioneering new business tactics. I mean, CD sales were just tanking, right? So what did they do? They started bundling tickets. Basically, you buy a concert ticket, you get a copy of the album with it. Now, why does this matter? Well, this clever strategy pretty much single-handedly guaranteed their albums would debut at #1. It kept them at the top of the charts in a game where all the rules had just been thrown out the window. But then we get to the 2010s, and suddenly the threats weren't external anymore. They weren't coming from shifting music trends. The biggest challenges were coming from inside the band, and even from inside Jon Bon Jovi's own body. And when you look back, you can kind of see this pattern emerging. First, there was the total burnout after that massive New Jersey tour. Then, in 2013, his co-writer Richie Sambora just leaves. And then comes the most devastating crisis yet. Jon's vocal cords literally started to atrophy. Every single one of these events could have, and probably should have, ended the band for good.
And this quote right here, it just says it all. For Jon, this was never about just getting by, phoning it in on stage. He was looking at a future where he might not be able to perform at the standard he set for himself. And for him, the equation was simple. If I can't be great, the story of Bon Jovi is over, period.
But the story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. What happened next was this incredible comeback, and it was powered by two things: some really cutting-edge medical science and another one of those clever artistic pivots. So here's what that journey back looked like. Step 1. The terrifying diagnosis that one of his vocal cords had literally wasted away. Step 2, this highly specialized surgery, a medialization thyroplasty to put an implant in. And then step 3, years, literally years of grueling rehab and training. And the result of all that? Their 2024 album, Forever, the first music he's recorded since he got his voice back. And here's that clever pivot I mentioned. They took a huge limitation, Jon wasn't physically ready to tour, and turned it into a creative strength. He invited this incredible lineup of superstars to collaborate on a special edition of the album. And you get these amazing pairings, right? The ultimate Jersey on Jersey summit with Bruce Springsteen, a crossover into modern country with Jelly Roll, an international pop moment with Robbie Williams. It was just a genius way to keep the music and the brand front and center. And all of this brings us to what I think is the final evolution of Bon Jovi. It's the part where they cement a legacy that's much bigger than just the music. It's about community, it's about philanthropy. This right here is how a band stops being a band and truly becomes an institution. Way back in 2006, Jon started the JBJ Soul Foundation. Its mission? To take on poverty and homelessness. And the impact is just staggering. They've financed almost 1,000 affordable housing units, and they have 3 of these amazing pay-it-forward community kitchens, where if you're in need, you can earn a hot meal by volunteering. And just so we're clear, this isn't some small side project. Look at this number. In 2024 alone, the foundation's revenue was more than $1.7 million. This is a serious, large-scale, impactful organization, and it's become a fundamental part of what the Bon Jovi brand even is. So when you really boil it all down, this Bon Jovi blueprint, it's a mix of 3 key things. You've got that Jersey work ethic they started out with, you've got the super savvy business strategy that helped them weather every single storm, and you've got this deep, genuine commitment to community that really defines what they are today. And that kind of leaves us with one last big question to think about. After 4 decades of massive hits, radical reinventions, and near disasters, what's the real legacy of an institution like this? Is it the anthems that we all sang along to in stadiums? Or is it the foundation that's putting food on people's plates? The story of Bon Jovi makes you think, maybe they're just 2 sides of the very same coin.